Welcome to the Never Too Early Fantasy Football Podcast, where it is never too early for fantasy football. My name is Jeff.
Alex.
As always, thank you for downloading, listening, liking, and commenting on our podcast videos. Please join our community by subscribing to us on the socials. Our handle on all platforms is at N2E Fantasy. We are also available on all major podcasting apps by searching N2E Fantasy. Alex, what do we have on today's show?
On this episode of the Never Too Early Fantasy Football Podcast, we are doing our 2024 first round NFL mock draft. So we will be predicting the NFL draft with 100% certainty and accuracy. Just kidding. We are going to have fun with this and do our best with an unpredictable draft. Jeff, we are going to rotate. We're going to have you start. And I'll go next, and then I'll do the second pick first, and then you do your second pick, and then we'll just rotate like that. So we kind of serpentine pick it here. And Jeff, with the first overall pick in the 2024 NFL Draft, who does Chicago take?
We need some drops for this here, but the Chicago Bears with the first pick of the 2024 NFL Draft will select Caleb Williams, quarterback, USC.
No,
I don't think there's much that
see
needs to be said about it.
Yeah, I can't see that happening. I mean, why? Why?
Well, then who do you have going?
Obviously, I have Caleb Williams, quarterback out of USC, going there because it's an open secret, and everybody knows that basically that's what they're doing, barring something crazy happening and changing directions last minute. It's not the pick that I personally would make, but it is, in fact, what it seems they will do on draft day.
Oh, great.
Okay. This second pick for Washington, they're definitely going to go quarterback, and I think we're probably going to differ on the quarterback that they go with. I think that honestly the best player on the board is Drake May, and that's who I'm going to take for Washington. I personally hope that he goes to Minnesota somehow, but I think Drake May is a better player than Jaden Daniels, and I think that they would hurt themselves in the long run if they took Jaden Daniels over Drake May. I can understand them having some trepidation with taking another North Carolina quarterback after they just had Sam Howell, but Drake May is a higher caliber quarterback than Sam Howell, and they have the second and third round picks to be able to fix their offensive line, which they need to do no matter which quarterback they take. Jeff, I'm sure I know exactly who you have at number 2, but go ahead.
Yeah, with the second pick in the 2024 NFL Draft, the Washington Commanders will select quarterback Jaden Daniels, LSU. That's a fact.
That he's from LSU?
No, that he's going to be going to Washington.
That's a fact, huh?
Yeah.
Right now, I would say a lot of mocks out there, probably close to 60% of them are picking Jaden Daniels to Drake May. There are still people picking Drake May, and it's going to be interesting because that decision is going to cause ripples for the rest of the draft.
Absolutely.
All right, who do you have at your third pick here for New England?
Yeah, with the third pick in the 2024 NFL Draft, I have the New England Patriots selecting quarterback Drake May from North Carolina. So I'm only one pick off of you, and I see it going this way. May's going to take a little bit more time to develop, and I could see him taking that time behind Jacoby Brissett versus behind a Marcus Mariota type. But we will see what happens. But I know teams trust Jacoby Brissett to at least start for half a season, if not more.
At number 3 here, I have the reverse, so we flip-flopped our picks. I have Jaden Daniels going to the Patriots. I think that the Patriots are very high on Jaden Daniels, and I think that he also fits behind Jacoby Brissett. So I can see both those teams going either way at this point. So I can see Washington going May or Daniels, and I can see the Patriots taking whichever one makes it there. I can also see the Patriots taking J.J. McCarthy too, although it would be foolish to put themselves in a situation where they take another Michigan player to compare to Tom Brady forever and ever. So they probably shouldn't take McCarthy.
Right. On to pick
All right,
4.
so number 4 for me. I've changed this pick a lot because I'm trying to see if they would trade out or whatever, but I kept them here, and that's Arizona picking the best wide receiver on the board, Marvin Harrison Jr. I do think Malik Neighbors would fit this offense a lot too, but I'm very high on Michael Wilson, and I think he and Marvin Harrison have some overlap, but Marvin Harrison is a higher caliber player. He's the best player on the board. Arizona should stick here and go ahead and take him. Jeff, who do you have at number 4?
So I have the New York Giants trading up 2 slots to draft quarterback J.J. McCarthy, Michigan. So the Cardinals will move back 2 spots, and it would probably cost them this year's first and probably 2 seconds, if not next year's first as well, somewhere in there, in that neighborhood for them to get off of Marvin Harrison Jr. Do you see the Giants potentially making this trade, or do you think this is out of the question for the Giants?
It's not out of the question, but they have so many needs, and I'm not convinced that JJ McCarthy is better or worse than Daniel Jones at this point. We just haven't seen enough. So it seems like if you're going to move on from Daniel Jones, you have to be really sure about the next quarterback. And I just don't know how you could feel really sure about JJ McCarthy.
Absolutely, and as I think that you were saying similar things about Anthony Richardson last year, so we will see.
Anthony Richardson is much more physically gifted and seems like just good coaching would help him. Whereas JJ, I mean, he had some of the best coaching in college and won a national championship. He just doesn't throw it enough in that offense, and it's hard to tell what's on him, what's not. Whereas Anthony Richardson was just in a bad situation all around. A little bit different
Yeah,
situation,
some of it's though
but both questions.
what the coach was asking McCarthy to do, and they won a title with it. So they were asking him to do what he did, and they won. So I don't know how much of it's limitations from McCarthy or just a coaching decision from Harbaugh. So
Yeah,
it'll
and
be
that's the thing.
interesting to see.
We don't know. Yeah. So it's possible for sure. Who do you have at number 5?
With the 5th pick in the 2024 NFL Draft, the Los Angeles Chargers select wide receiver Marvin Harrison Jr., Ohio State. Perfect wide receiver to pair with Justin Herbert.
Yeah, I would prefer Marvin go to the Chargers for sure. So I think that's a good spot for him. For me, because I already have Marvin Harrison going number 4. I actually do not have a trade here. I have the Chargers taking Malik Neighbors here at number 5. So
Interesting.
no quarterback trade, no Minnesota popping up to take JJ McCarthy.
All right.
So number 6 for me, I have Rome Odunze going to the Giants. So
What?
three quarterbacks back to back, 3 wide receivers back to back.
uh, so you have all of the the big wide receivers off the board by 6.
Yes.
And in our previous podcast, you had said that you liked Odunze better than Neighbors. Do you not see the NFL seeing it that way, or what made you decide to pick them in this order?
I think different teams have different evaluations of these guys, and I think that the Chargers are more interested in Neighbors, and I think the Giants are more interested in Odunze. And if a quarterback goes somewhere between 4, 5, and 6, um, depending on where that guy goes, could change which wide receiver gets taken first.
All right. Do you see who's more likely to fall out of the top 3 receivers if one were to
Most
fall?
people want to pin it on Odunze, and I think that the floor for a wide receiver is 9 of the top 3. So I really doubt any of them would slip past that point.
Absolutely. So your sixth pick was Rome Odunze. My sixth pick, so this is a trade that just happened 2 picks ago. Arizona will now select wide receiver Malik Neighbors from LSU because they traded that 4 pick to the Giants, so they moved back 2 slots, so they still get one of the top wide receivers. Plus, they acquire a few extra picks. So this would be a huge win for the Cardinals if they could pull this off because they would acquire extra picks plus get one of the top 3 wide receivers in this year's draft.
I can totally see that, and I will also say I can also see the Chargers at 5 taking Joe Alt as well. So I could totally see them taking a tackle at 5 instead of a wide receiver. But it's the smart thing for these teams to do is take a wide receiver at this point. So I like the Cardinals at 6. I
What
like
happened
them
to your
because they.
Brock Bowers, love?
What do you mean?
You had
He's still
you had the
beloved.
Chargers at one point at 5 taking
Yeah, that
him.
was early in the process.
You
I like him a
fell out
lot,
of that.
but there's something to be said about the rookie draft contracts, like the rookie contracts in the top 10 being really high versus how much tight ends get paid. So you can make a case that he should be taken outside of the top 10 just from a value wise. But if you're looking at production wise, he should be taken in the top 10 because he potentially will put up wide receiver numbers in the tight end position. So it's just what team bites on that upside. And if the Chargers trade out of the top 10 because somebody like the Vikings want to move up and take a quarterback, I can see them taking Bowers at 11. Or if, you know, instead of the Chargers, Arizona trades out of the top 10 because somebody wants a quarterback, I could see Arizona trading back in at number 7 with the Titans to take a wide receiver. That's something I had on a previous mock. But in this one,
So with my 7th pick in the 2024 NFL Draft, the Tennessee Titans will select offensive tackle Joe Alt from Notre Dame.
I have the same right now
You do.
didn't have because I didn't have a quarterback trade. There's no one to trade up with the Titans, so I have Joe Alt.
So wait, you don't have JJ McCarthy off the board yet. This is
Nope.
interesting. Okay.
No. I've gone through different iterations where Alts dropped to 8, and I had the Falcons and Jets swap, but not in this one. So I have the boring pick of Joe Alt at 7, and at number 8, I've changed the defender who I thought was going to be here, and I have the Falcons taking Jared Verse, edge from Florida State. I previously had Dallas Turner here. In another version where I had the Falcons switch with the Jets, I had the Jets take Joe Alt, and I had the Falcons take a corner. So I think, to me, corner and edge are the two most likely picks for the Falcons. I can still see, for whatever reason, if a wide receiver, one of the top 3, falls to them at 8, I can still see, hey, let's get Kirk Cousins yet another weapon. I can see it happen. I don't think it's as likely as taking one of the top defensive players, but it can happen.
Didn't they take Pitts, London, Bijan top 10 the last 3 years?
Yes. Yes, they did.
I can't see, for how much money they've spent on offense, I can't see Raheem Morris go on the offensive side of the ball early in this draft. He will stick to his side of the ball. I have a funny feeling. And with my 8th pick, I'm going to go with defensive lineman Dallas Turner from Alabama.
All right.
All right, are we on to number 9?
Yeah, we're moving to number 9 here, Jeff.
So you would say one of the biggest needs for the Jets is tight end, right?
We're at the Bears, right? Number
Correct.
9.
I'm just
Yeah.
asking a question. You would say one of the Jets' biggest needs would be tight end, right?
I mean, tight end's a spot they can improve and get a better weapon for sure.
Yep. So I got this specific team moving up to number 9 with the Chicago Bears to select tight end Brock Bowers, and this mystery team, is the Indianapolis Colts.
I mean, I could kind of see it, but
They're gonna hop to get him.
I think they would only do the trade up to get Marvin Harrison Jr. if Marvin started slipping.
That's not gonna happen.
I know, but I don't know if they would trade up to 9 to take Brock Bowers. I would think that there's a good chance he could fall to 15.
You think so?
I
I
mean,
don't think he gets past 10 with the Jets.
I would say there's a chance for sure because the Jets could go offensive line.
This is true. This is true.
But
But obviously, the Bears move back to 15th with this trade and acquire some additional capital. Not the pick that
uh,
Justin Field truthers wanted them to trade, but
yeah, for sure. I can potentially see that. They definitely, for me, when you have a young quarterback that you want to prove is good, you're going to invest in the offense, and it makes more sense that they take an offensive weapon with their first pick, whether it's a wide receiver, whether it's Bowers. They need to do something to help Anthony Richardson. So I agree that that's likely offense. I don't know if they would jump up for Bowers or not. I think he is certainly someone that they're probably considering, though. I think he's one of the several guys on their board. For me, I have the Bears staying at 9, and I have them
wow.
taking Dallas Turner. So I had Verse at 8 with the Falcons, Dallas Turner 9 with the Bears, because I think the only thing that they really need to upgrade is another edge rusher, another defender. So
Yeah, absolutely. Can see that at 15, though, just the same. But it's interesting that you have no trades yet in this mock draft of yours.
I know,
So
and I'm usually the one that likes to do all the trading.
I don't think we're going to escape the top 8 picks without one trade. I don't think it stays as is, but we'll see. I think Minnesota's waiting to see who's available at 4. I think Giants are waiting to see who's available at 4 before they actually pull the trigger and make the move. They're not going to just make the move with a blindly now.
Yeah, I mean it's possible, but I'm not as high on JJ McCarthy as draft media is. So I wouldn't spend a top 4 pick on him. And I can also see some of these teams liking the player that's available for them and not wanting to move down.
We will see. So who is your 10th pick?
My 10th pick is Brock Bowers with the
2?
Jets to the
Okay.
Jets.
See?
I can absolutely see an offensive lineman, and I can definitely see them trying to trade up for an offensive lineman. I can maybe even see a wide receiver, although I think linemen and tight end are the probably the most likely for the Jets. I think their defense is pretty good too, so I would be surprised if it was defense. But Jets are in a position where they really just need a key star player, and Brock Bowers is it for me. I don't think that the other teams want to move off the wide receiver position, so I think they get Brock Bowers, and I think that especially if Tennessee takes Joe Alt or the Bears take Joe Alt. Jeff, who do you have at 10?
So now you can see why I had Indy jump up to 9 to get Brock Bowers, because you just had him going 10. So they might be thinking the same exact thing here. So I have another trade after the Jets see that their pick is gone. They're going to trade this pick back, and they're going to trade with the Cincinnati Bengals. And the Cincinnati Bengals are going to move up to the 10th pick to select Rome Odunze, wide receiver out of Washington. So I know you're a little bit in awe that Rome went to number 10, but it is possible.
Yeah, I just don't. I think if Odunze was there at 9, I just think that there's a 0% chance the Bears would trade that pick. That's
Why?
another thing because I think I think he is probably top 5 on their board. And if a top 5 player is available at the number 9 pick, I think you take him. And I think Odunze is, especially with the fans, all the Bears fans are praying that Odunze is still there at 9. So
Yeah, I can't really see them spending more resources, though, on wide receiver. They already have an expensive DJ Moore. They have an expensive Keenan Allen.
Keenan Allen's on a 1-year deal.
That's fine, but they're open to a renegotiation with him and bringing him back. So
So I would say it's not a need, but if Odunze is there, I mean, he's just so good you don't pass up on him.
I mean, they gotta protect Caleb. They gotta get a second pass rusher. There's things
But
that
their
they need to
offensive
get.
line is fine now. Like they could upgrade it.
Yeah.
Like they have a decent pass rusher. Like they could get a second one
Yep. They
if
need a second
Ozunze is
one.
there. If Ozunze is there, I mean, I feel like they have to take him. But anyway, it's your mock.
But
We have a difference there, but that's totally fine. Like anything can happen.
it's only because you like him so much. But this is the perfect spot for him with Joe Burrow, and this kind of allows them to move off of T. Higgins. I don't know if T. Higgins would be part of this trade. Yeah, the Jets would acquire some extra picks and maybe even T. Higgins in this potential trade. So they would have Mike Williams, T. Higgins, and Garrett Wilson going into the year. That would be kind of an interesting Aaron Rodgers for this year. All right. So now that I've shocked you, we are going to go ahead with the number 11 pick here, and the Vikings stay put here, which is actually a little bit surprising, just given everything that has been said and the fact that they've already traded for another first round pick. So it doesn't feel right, but it is right because no one's willing to trade down with them, and they weren't able to get JJ McCarthy. So at number 11, they will select Michael Penix Jr., quarterback, Washington, and he's going to be the fifth quarterback off the board at number 11.
All right. I also have the Vikings taking a quarterback at 11, but I have JJ McCarthy still being there, and I have the Vikings taking him at 11. If you buy into rumors, allegedly the Texans were the ones who reached out to the Vikings to trade their first round pick for the Vikings' second round picks. So not the other way around, which means the Vikings are not necessarily looking at trading up. And I don't think JJ McCarthy is good enough to be taken in the top 5. So
Okay. Do
I think
you
that go
do you
ahead.
believe that rumor?
I mean it came from the Texans media. So yeah.
What would the Texans' purpose of making that trade be?
They don't like how the board looks for the first round, or they have a lot of players they like and they want to double up
I was going to
in the
say
second.
because they don't really know how it's going to fall, so it's a little early to
Yeah,
say they don't like how the board falls.
but the Texans were the ones that reached out to the Vikings.
Dang, that
So
doesn't happen every day.
no, I don't know if it was a stipulation that Buffalo wanted a Minnesota draft pick for Diggs just for some parity. I don't know what it was, but yeah, the Texans
I'm
allegedly were the ones that reached out.
I'm floored.
So
You haven't had any trade yet.
yeah, I know, and I'm usually the one that would have shoved in 11 trades and 11 picks.
You
But
don't even have one yet, though, and I have
I know,
three.
not one trade. This is after doing like 20 mock drafts where each of them had like a bunch of trades. But this is our uh first official one of the year. Maybe we'll last minute shove out another one before the draft. Maybe not. We'll see.
Follow
But
us on
I
X.
have either way, I have Minnesota taking JJ McCarthy at 11. And
Okay.
at 12, I have another quarterback going, and that's Bo Nix from Oregon to the Broncos. I think it's difficult to imagine them being able to find a trade partner that gives them enough value for that spot. I've explored Eagles and Detroit trading up to get a corner at that spot, and the Broncos taking Bo Nix later in the draft. That could happen, but I think that there's so much on the line that depends on having quarterback play for Sean Payton. Sean Payton has to prove it. So I think he has to take a quarterback, and I think Bo Nix is the most likely.
Yeah, and I am right there with you. I have Denver in their 12th pick, taking quarterback Bo Nix from Oregon. Oh, right. We can. I don't really think much else needs to be said because Denver's been so tied to Bo Nix. But
Yeah.
at the same point, there's so many corners in this draft. It doesn't unless they fell in love with a specific corner, it doesn't really make sense to trade up and lose future assets for potentially a similar same type player that you
Yeah.
could get right at your pick. So, and Philly coming off of a bad year really isn't in a position of extra right now. So they kind of need to get back to the grind and hopefully figure it out this upcoming season. But we can move forward to the 13th pick here. Oh boy, this is where we get to the names where where I will have a little bit of trouble saying, but I have the Raiders selecting offensive tackle Alumawama Fashino. Am I close? Don't
The
make fun of
Penn
me.
State tight end. Just say
No, offensive
Fashiono.
tackle.
Sorry, offensive tackle. Penn State offensive tackle. My bad. Uh, just say Fashiono. How would you say? Oh, Illuminati Fashiono. Do you have him going to the Raiders at 13?
Yes, sir.
I have the Raiders going Michael Penix Jr. at 13 because
Oh,
they can't risk Michael Penix going to the Seahawks 3 picks later. So I
why?
can
They're not in the same division.
yeah, but if they like him, they don't want someone else to take him.
I don't think they like him. I think
Oh, there's rumors that they do like him.
there can be
They
rumors, but then what do they do with their three quarterback situation?
they start the best one.
Yeah, but they don't carry three. That's the problem. No team's going to carry three this year.
We'll see. But
I
that's who
love
I
you.
have them taking.
All right. I had to give you a little flack there. And who do you have
So
going
that's
14th?
6 quarterbacks in the top 13.
I have 6 in the top 12.
And I think spoiler alert, I don't think I have any trades in this mock.
What? You were just throwing me off the scent earlier because you were like, oh, I got all these trades. No
I did so
trades.
many trades that I didn't do it this time.
Wow. All right. 14th.
So 14th, I have Tylese Fuaga, the Oregon State tackle. I think that New Orleans has had some bad luck with offensive tackles of late, and they need to bring somebody in. Otherwise, Derek Carr is going to get murdered every snap. So he's a very physical player, and I think that he will be able to contribute right away.
All right. So with my 14th pick, I also go offensive line, and we're going to go Troy Fontenot from Washington, offensive tackle.
So
So
I think
we're,
he probably profiles more as a guard than a tackle, but I think he can play both.
yeah, I think no matter what, they're going to go offensive line just given their developments this off season.
All right, who do you have at 15th?
All right, my 15th pick. So this is where the Bears traded back to when they traded with the Indianapolis Colts. So it's 6 picks back. Not a totally big deal. But this is where I have Jared Verse going. And I know you had him as a top 10 pick. I know you had him as number 8 to Atlanta. But definitely this is where Chicago could trade back and still get that edge rusher that they're looking for, that position of need that they were really looking for as well, and acquire some additional picks for the future.
All right, so number 15 for me, I still have the Colts here, and I have them taking Brian Thomas Jr., wide receiver out of LSU. I think that they need an upgrade over Alec Pierce,
Well, Josh
and
Downs is
I
their
think
number 2.
yeah, but he's not a vertical guy. He's more of a slot guy. So they need a vertical fast guy. So that makes sense to me to have Brian Thomas Jr. there, just like how you wanted to bring in a very dynamic tight end. I think that they bring in a dynamic wide receiver who can develop. And for me, at number 16 for Seattle, I have them taking Troy Fontenot, the tackle out of Washington, to reunite him with his coach. They need a guard. I think he would slide in at guard for that team and help improve their offensive line so they can get a balanced attack going. So Geno Smith can stay alive and they can actually have a rushing attack. I think he would fit very well.
All right. So with my 16th pick, I have Talise Fuaga, offensive tackle, Oregon State there. So I feel like we just flip-flopped them around, and but we're kind of in the same ballpark, and it does seem like a lot of these linemen could be interchangeable and personal preference when it comes to this draft because they are so close when it comes to this draft. And I do have Seattle keeping this pick in case I wasn't clear about that. So not another trade coming. Just we have to clean up the trade from the Cincinnati Jets trade in my book here. And that'll be it for trades for me as well.
All right. Who do you have at 17?
With my 17th pick, I have the Jacksonville Jaguars selecting Tyrion Arnold, the cornerback from Alabama. He'll be the first corner off the board for me.
I have Jacksonville taking Quinion Mitchell, cornerback out of Toledo, and he's I think he's my first corner as well.
Are you married to a particular cornerback this year, or is it just personal preference at this point?
I think it's personal preference. I think last year I was more married to a particular corner than this year. I think for me, Quinion Mitchell, Terrion Arnold, and Nate Wiggins are probably the top three, and I think it's probably team preference between those three.
Yeah, so it'll be really interesting to see how that falls, and it'll be interesting to see how many of them actually show up for the draft. I know there was a list released earlier last week, and I think there was like 15 or 16 names on the list of people attending, so it's actually getting smaller and smaller.
Yeah. They want to avoid embarrassing players.
Come on, that's the fun part.
All right. So number 18 for me, it was really between two different guys that played the same position. And I went with Jerry Newton, the interior defensive lineman from Illinois. I think he's a really good disruptor. And I think that the Bengals losing DJ Reader, I think that they need to fill that void. And Jerry Newton is one of the top available players, as well as being a really good interior lineman. So, Jeff, who do you have here at 18?
So this was my previous trade. This is the last trade that I need to clean up. And with this pick, I have the Jets, who traded their pick earlier to the Bengals. I have them selecting offensive tackle J.C. Latham here from Alabama. And I think he's been falling down people's boards a little bit due to some health concerns. I think we were talking about that earlier, but this could be some good value for the Jets later in it. They could acquire some additional picks.
Yeah, especially since they brought in two veteran tackles, they could draft a rookie who needs a little bit more development and sit them behind those guys. So, offensive line is definitely a need for sure for the Jets. So, that's something that they'll want to address in the draft.
Absolutely. So I can hop right into my 19th pick. And with the 19th pick, the Los Angeles Rams select Laiatu Latu, edge rusher, UCLA.
Any particular reason to take him at that spot?
I feel like they have a massive defensive line opening right now from a pretty big retirement that happened a few weeks ago. So they need to start rebuilding their pass rush ASAP.
So, I have them going same side of the ball but different position. I have them going Byron Murphy out of Texas to go in the interior line and kind of try to fill the void that massive retirement left. So they lost probably one of the best interior linemen of the past 20 years. And I don't necessarily think Byron Murphy is the same caliber, but I think he's very good, and I think he will help.
Big
So
shoes.
yeah, and it's be interesting because I feel like both the Bengals and the Chargers, or sorry, the
Other LA
Rams,
team.
yeah, the other LA team with the same colors. I think both the Bengals and the Rams are both looking at interior linemen, and I'm going to be interested which one takes which, if that's the direction they go.
Absolutely.
So,
All right. We are ready for
so
the
number 20 for
20th.
me. Yeah, number 20 for me. I keep flip flopping between offensive line and defensive back, and I from this one decided on Terrion Arnold, cornerback out of Alabama. I think that they could improve that defensive line, and I think that on offensive line they really need to improve the interior side, so they can do that in the second round. Whereas the top corners are limited in this draft, so I think that if you like a corner, you got to take them in the first round because you can get linemen in the second round. So I went Terrion Arnold. Jeff, who do you have at 20?
So Pittsburgh has done a lot on the offensive side of the ball this year, and I see Tomlin focusing on the defensive side of the ball just like you do. And I'm going to go with the player that you just picked for the Rams and Byron Murphy, defensive line Texas. I just feel like he's the perfect player to slide right into their defense and kind of keep their defense stout for years to come.
All right, who do you have at 21?
21. So with the 21st pick, I have the Miami Dolphins selecting Emirus Mims, offensive tackle, Georgia.
All right. At 21, I have the Dolphins taking uh, Latu, the guy you had a couple picks earlier, the edge rusher out of UCLA. I think that he's someone that the Dolphins actually really like. So I could even potentially see them trade up for him in the draft. And I think that he brings an edge rush that they don't really have on that defense. Number 22 for me, I have the Eagles taking the guy that you took at 21 for the Dolphins, Amherst Mims out of Georgia. One, they like Georgia players, and two, they like to have succession plans for offensive linemen. So I can absolutely see Mims come in, learn the system, and then take over at one of the tackle positions in the near future and push one of the other guys to guard. That that's something that I can see, and their beat writers also mentioned do not rule them out of the tackle position in round one, and I can absolutely see that. The other thing for me is they'd probably consider corner as well, and Nate Wiggins is still on the board for me, so I could have seen them go that direction. Jeff, who do you have at 22?
So I have Philadelphia making their pick at 22, and with that 22nd pick, they select Quinion Mitchell, cornerback Toledo. So they are going to go that cornerback route for me that you were just saying.
Right. That's a solid
And
pick. If
now,
he's still there, I think that's a good option.
well, as I was making this mock draft, I had told you, I said Philadelphia just always lucks into those fallers. And this could be another scenario where that actually happens here. All right. So with the 23rd pick, I have the Minnesota Vikings keeping this pick, and they pick Jerry Newton, defensive lineman from Illinois here. I know you had him go a little bit earlier in our draft here. I think you had him go 18th to Cincinnati. And so just 5 picks later, I have him going to the Minnesota Vikings.
All right. I have the Vikings also here. Neither one of us had the Vikings trade up in this mock, so they still have their 23rd pick that they got from Houston via Cleveland. And I have them taking Cooper DeJean, defensive back out of Iowa. Don't know if he's going to be a safety. Don't know if he's going to be a corner, but he is super athletic. He's very physical. I think he has a lot of upside. I think he would be higher if he was healthier. He just got healthy. He wasn't healthy enough for the combine. Um, I think people also discount him a little bit for other reasons as well. But I think he's a perfect fit for the Vikings defense, and I think this is a good spot for him.
Yeah, I have him going a little bit later. I have him marked as a cornerback, but obviously you could flip any of his defensive backs around a little bit.
Okay, so number 24, I have the Cowboys taking the most versatile offensive lineman in this draft, and that's Graham Barton. Technically tackle out of Duke, but he is the one offensive lineman who could potentially play all 5 positions. So I think that they have a need at corner. I think center, at guard, at tackle. I think he could basically fit anywhere on that line, depending on who else they take. Jeff, who do you have at 24?
So I have Dallas selecting at 24, and with the 24th pick, they will select Taylor Guyton, offensive tackle, Oklahoma. So same position, just different player right now. Any comments on that before I hop over to my 25th pick?
That's definitely someone I've considered at the same spot as well, and I would be shocked if they didn't go offensive line at 24.
Yeah, they need to protect Dak. He's their quarterback of the future. I
He's the
had to say
quarterback of
that
the now,
for the
quarterback of the
record
now for a guarantee. Yeah.
on this podcast. But with the 25th pick in the NFL draft, I have the Green Bay Packers selecting offensive tackle Jordan Morgan of Arizona.
All right. I also have Green Bay taking an offensive tackle, and I have the Illuminati Fashanu guy out of Penn State. So
A lot later than me,
Illumin,
though.
yeah, someone's gonna fall later, and we just don't know which of these tackles it's gonna be. So I think that obviously he could go higher than this to a team. Either way, I have them hitting offensive line at this
Well,
point. Not quite the value to take a safety for them at this point. So offensive line makes more sense.
if his name really is Illuminati, then maybe the Jets take him at 18 when I have them trade down. And Aaron Rodgers might be like, I want to get that Illuminati guy.
That's Illum Mu Yua. Luminua or whatever. I don't know. It's really hard to say.
All right, who's your
Uh,
26th pick?
26. It's so hard to pinpoint because the Bucks are okay at most positions, but they also need to improve a lot of positions. I think that they've had a couple offensive linemen either retire or one was traded to the Texans last offseason. So I think they need a guard or a center, and I have Jackson Powers Johnson, Oregon center, going to them. He most likely would play guard in the pro level instead of center, but he still could play that. I think he would be a benefit for them. I mean, I've also considered the the top linebacker as well for them. Considered safety, considered corner, considered a lot of different options for them. But that's what I picked on this mock. Who do you have at 26?
All right, I have them going the offensive line as well. And just so our viewers know, we didn't compare any of these beforehand, but I have them taking Graham Barton.
Okay. So that's a couple picks off from where I had Graham as well.
Yes, we're close. Here, it's all going to be personal preference. And I feel like that's the hardest part about doing a mock draft is trying to figure out like a team's personal preference.
Yeah.
You still got a
Okay,
couple
who do you
wide
have at 20?
receivers to go to get to your number 12, though. 12 receivers and 12 quarterbacks total in the first round. So I expect to see a
No,
whole bunch of wide receivers
not
going soon.
not 12, not 12 each, 12 together.
Yeah. I expect to see 3 more wide receivers here in the last picks.
Well, hold on, because I have 6 quarterbacks and I'll have
Or
6
2 more.
wide receivers. Yeah, so 2 more.
Yep.
All right, who do you have at 27?
My 27th pick, I have the Arizona Cardinals selecting Demian Robinson, edge rusher out of Penn State.
Otherwise known as?
Chop Robinson.
Yeah. Yep, that's how people are gonna know him in this draft. So you gotta say Chop. I think he's probably one of the fastest, most athletic edge rushers in this draft, and there's some people out there saying he might be the first one taken, but I doubt that at this point. I would be surprised if he was. But I think
Absolutely.
it's a good spot for him, mid to later first round, maybe even high second is the lowest that he would go. So I think that's good. I even considered him 26 for the Bucks as well. So 27 for me is Nate Wiggins, cornerback out of Clemson. I think that one of these 2 first-round picks, if they keep both of them, is going to be defensive back. So I think Nate Wiggins is the guy. He's the best available. I could also see if Nate Wiggins goes earlier, I could see them taking Cooper DeJean as well. I think he's one of the guys that they've been interested in too. So defensive back there. Number 28, without having to trade up, I think that the Buffalo Bills take Adonai Mitchell, wide receiver out of Texas, and he will eventually be their new number 1 receiver. And I feel pretty good about that. They could also trade up in the draft at some point and try to snag him or another wide receiver. Jeff, who do you have at 28?
I also have them going wide receiver at 28. And with the 28th pick, they will select Brian Thomas Jr., wide receiver LSU. I don't know why I've done that 100 times so far this offseason. I think it's the extra letters after Thomas with the junior that has just
Probably.
programmed my mind to read it that way. But Brian Thomas Jr. will be the 28th pick in the NFL draft to the Buffalo Bills. And I know that's much later than you had him, but I think they're going to go wide receiver no matter what. So
Yeah, I mean, unless they surprise everyone and go defense. I don't know, but I would love for them to get either one of these guys. I think that player would rise up these rookie drafts for sure.
absolutely.
All right, number 29 for me, and this is a team that I think could. Sorry, you go. Number 29. My bad.
You were going to skip me. We're just talking wide receivers. But with the 29th pick, I have the Detroit Lions taking cornerback Cooper DeJean from Iowa. So
I can see that. I can see them going defensive back, but I can also see them go wide receiver. I don't think Jameson Williams has panned out. I think they need somebody else opposite of our boy, of our Lord and Savior Amon-Ra, St. Brown, the Sun God. They need an outside guy, and I have Mr. Lad McConkey out of Georgia here. I could see them trading up for a wide receiver, and I could see them trading up for a defensive back as well. But in this draft, they stay where they are, and Lad McConkey's right there.
Yeah, I see Detroit going defensive back because that's a position that they desperately need help in right now. And they have two pass catchers with Laporta and St. Brown. Like a third pass catcher is more of a luxury at this point than worrying about their defensive backfield. Plus, they have Gibbs that's a pass catcher as well. So,
Well, I already have 1, 2, 3, 4 defensive backs going, and I'm not as high on the other ones. So the value pick
all right, who do
is
you have
that.
at number 30, sir?
At number 30, I have J.C. Latham, tackle out of Alabama. I think the Ravens lost some offensive linemen this offseason, and I think this gives someone the ability to kick on the inside to guard and improve their offensive line. So I think that this is a good situation for the Ravens to keep their offense moving forward, and I also think that the better corners and wide receivers have been taken at this point, so the value is in J.C. Latham.
All right. So with my 30th pick, I have Baltimore selecting Nate Wiggins, cornerback out of Clemson. I know you had him a little bit earlier, but I could really see them go on the defensive side of the football as well if he does fall to this point. Do you see Baltimore potentially going on the defensive side of the ball, or is that not going to happen?
I think it could. I just think it depends on who's there. They're very good about getting the best player available rather than necessarily forcing a need at a certain point. So if Wiggins is there, I think that's good value.
Absolutely. And they're a team that likes to draft value. I feel like the Eagles are a team like that too. So that's kind of why I had the Eagles going with Quinion Mitchell, and now I have Baltimore going with Nate Wiggins here. All right. So with my 31st pick, so we got 2 picks left, I have the San Francisco 49ers selecting offensive tackle Kingsley Sumataya from BYU. So I feel like they need to start addressing their offensive line. But I do feel like this is another spot where you're going to go wide receiver for the San Francisco 49ers and hope that they trade Brandon Ayuk away, but it doesn't seem like they're interested in that currently.
So I think if I didn't already have 6 quarterbacks go in this draft, this would have been a good spot to trade out to a team that wanted a fifth-year option on a quarterback. But I don't think that there's anyone at this point that's left that's worth it. So I have San Francisco going with Kool-Aid McKinstry, cornerback out of Alabama. I think they need a defensive back. I don't think that the tackles are of that much value at this point. But I think that I also think that Kyle Shanahan is good at coaching up some tackles, and I think they're one of the teams that's interested in the Houston left tackle in the later rounds. So I think that number 32, Kansas City Chiefs have a big decision to make between they either take the best available tackle and have them rotate or sit behind their current tackles, or they take a wide receiver. I have them going in the tackle route. I have them going Jordan Morgan, the tackle out of Arizona, to close out the first round. Jeff, who do you have the Kansas City Chiefs taken at 32, or do they trade out?
So the Kansas City Chiefs will make their selection in the first round, and they will be taking the guy that you just had going at 31, Kool-Aid McKinstry. And I believe that will replace the cornerback that they traded away last month.
Need.
Yep.
Yeah. I mean, I could see it, especially uniting Kool-Aid McKinstry with the Kool-Aid Man and Andy Reid. I think that would be a pretty
and they'd be all
interesting.
in red. Oh yeah. We want everyone to grade our drafts here.
Yeah, absolutely. Tear Jeff apart and just tell me how smart I am, and I'm such a handsome boy. Both with my mock draft, I can't wait to hear it.
You're a good boy. Oh wait, you're a handsome boy. Sorry.
Oh. Isn't that what mama's boys get told from their moms? You're such a handsome boy. You're so
I
smart.
always knew you were a mama's boy, Alex.
Always, huh? Mama said, mama said, mama said.
Stay one.
Mm,
Water
mm.
sucks. Although I'm drinking water right now.
Gatorade. Oh. All right. Well, I think that was a good mock. I think it's hilarious that I'm the one that did zero trades, but I'm certainly not opposed. I'm certainly not opposed to doing another mock draft if we can squeeze one in, or I can just do it on X. It doesn't matter, whatever. So
Yeah, any corrections, we might just post right on X and just let everyone know, hey, we swapped these players around. But special teams, special players, you know how
Papa
it goes.
John's.
Yes. No, it's a TikTok video.
Mm.
I know you're big on the TikToks.
I don't get on TikTok at all.
Tuesday,
uh,
Tuesday.
I watch YouTube Shorts over TikToks. They're probably TikToks that are put into YouTube,
Yep.
but I actually don't get on TikTok at all. Not my thing.
Oh, great. I think this
All right.
wraps up our draft prep.
Yeah, that does it for this episode, everybody. Thank you all for listening to this episode, and please give us comments on this episode. Let us know what you think of our selections. Who is more right and whose mock is more betterer than the other person's mock? Please give us all the feedback. Let us know if we suck, if we're awesome, if we can improve, or if there's a video that you want from us to do. Like, let us know and share the show. We want the good word out there on the street about how good we are, and we would like to grow and thrive and just be the channel that you want us to be.
Be all that you can be. You can find us on all podcasting apps by searching N2E Fantasy and with our handle at N2E Fantasy on all social media platforms. Please join our community and give us a follow. Until next time, take care of yourselves and remember, it's truly never too early for fantasy football. Thank you again.
Bye, everybody.